All right, let's talk about leadership and change. Every leader, whether they realize it or not, is telling a story. It's a story about where the organization is going, and really, there are only two endings to that story. You're either trying to restore something from the past, or you're trying to create a brand new future. So the big question is, which story are you telling? So let's get right to it. This is the core question, the one that really gets to the heart of your leadership style. When things get tough, when you're facing a major challenge, what's your gut instinct? Is it to restore things, to get back to how they were? Or is it to create something totally new, something that's never been seen before? Seriously, your answer to that one question pretty much defines the entire path you're on. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the two basic models of leadership. Then, we'll dive deep into the hero's journey playbook, what it is, and maybe more importantly, what its hidden trap is. After that, we'll forge the creator's path. Then we'll put them side by side for a direct comparison, and we'll wrap it all up by turning the question back to you. Which leader are you? Right, so let's get into these two models. The thing is, every leader is working from a script, a core narrative. You might not even know you're doing it, but that story, it shapes everything. It changes how you define a problem, what you call a win, and even the kind of people you rally around you. It all boils down to this fundamental choice. Are you here to fix what's broken, or are you here to build what's next? And here they are, side by side. On the one hand, you've got the hero's journey. This is all about restoring balance, healing the community, putting things back together. And on the other hand, you have the creator's path. This is completely different. It's about forging new values, about being in a constant state of creation, or perpetual becoming. They might sound a little bit alike on the surface, but trust me, where they end up, totally different universes. Okay, let's kick things off with the one we're all probably most familiar with. This is the default setting for so many organizations, the hero's journey. I mean, think about it. It's the plot of basically every blockbuster movie, every ancient myth, and yeah, almost every big corporate turnaround story you've ever heard. There's a reason it feels so familiar. It's because it's everywhere. And this structure is super simple. It's a classic three-act story. First, depart. The hero, or in our case, the leader or change agent, has to leave the comfort of the status quo. Then, initiate. This is where the big challenge happens. You face the trials. It could be a market crash, a product launch that bombs, a total internal meltdown. And finally, return. You come back changed by the experience, carrying the solution, the magic elixir, that's going to fix everything and restore order. And this right here, this is the most important thing to understand about the hero's journey. The end goal is not revolution. It's not about creating something new. It's about restoration. The whole point of the journey is to get things back to a stable, comfortable, known state. It's about making things right, again. But what if the way things should be isn't good enough anymore? What if that past you're trying to restore is actually irrelevant now? Well, that's when this playbook, this trusted story, suddenly becomes a huge liability. This is what we call the hero's innovation trap. It's for any company that doesn't just need to recover, it needs to completely reinvent itself. Yeah, some critics have a pretty intense name for this model. They call it saccharine poison. Think about that. Saccharine, it's sweet, it's comforting, it makes you feel good. But it's also poison. It feels heroic, but in reality, it could be the very thing that's quietly stopping your organization from making the radical leaps it needs to survive. So what does this trap actually look like? Well, for starters, it's a recipe for comfort, not growth. It encourages everyone to just follow the rules, don't rock the boat. The whole point is to get back to the safety of the herd, not to break away from it. It ends up relying on external crutches, consultants, best practices, instead of fostering that deep internal thinking you need to really change things. Bottom line, the hero's goal is to fix, it's not to invent. Okay, so if the hero's journey can be a trap, then what's the alternative? Well, that's where we get to the creator's path. And this is a whole different beast. This isn't a framework for patching up the old world. No, this is a playbook for building a completely new one. It's designed from the ground up for true disruptive innovation. Now, the biggest difference, the fundamental shift, is where the battle is fought. See, the creator isn't out there fighting some external dragon like a rival company or a bad economy. Nope. The main battle is internal. It's a struggle against the organization's own inertia, its own deep-seated resistance to change, its own lazy desire to just take the easy way out. And on this path, the creator leader has to defeat 3 specific enemies. The first one is called the shadow. You know this voice. It's that little whisper in the back of everyone's head during a meeting, the one that says, hey, let's just go with a safer option. Or, is this really worth the effort? It's the voice of complacency, and it absolutely hates the hard work that comes with real creation. All right, the second enemy is the soothsayer. Now, this voice is external. This is the cynic. It's the market analyst who says your idea will never work. It's the skeptical board member who's seen it all before. It's that veteran on the team who just sighs and says, we tried that 10 years ago. They're preaching that any big, bold effort is just pointless and doomed to fail from the start. And that brings us to the final and most powerful opponent, the spirit of gravity. This isn't a person, this is the soul-crushing weight of a culture of resignation. It's that feeling of futility that makes every new idea feel impossibly heavy. It's the sound of, we've always done it this way, and that'll never work here. This is the main boss, and beating the spirit of gravity is the whole point of the creator's path. Okay, so we've defined the hero and the creator. Now it's time to put them side by side. And look, the goal here isn't to say one is good and one is bad. It's about figuring out which tool is right for the job, which framework fits the specific challenge that you're up against right now. This chart really nails the key differences. Let's walk through it. The hero's primary goal, restore balance and heal. The creator, nope, it's to create completely new values. The main enemy for the hero is some external crisis. For the creator, the enemy is internal resistance, that spirit of gravity we just talked about. This all leads to a very different endpoint. The hero's journey ends with a return to the safety of the herd. The creator's path, though, it never really ends. It's about always becoming, always building what's next.
So, with all that laid out, the spotlight turns back on you. It's time to take these ideas and use them as a kind of diagnostic tool to look in the mirror at your own leadership style and, just as importantly, at your organization's culture.
If you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. First, you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Which of these two models is your organization's default setting? Are you a company of heroes, always rushing to put out fires and get back to normal? And once you have an answer, you have to ask the much, much harder question. Is that the leader the future actually needs?
And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started, but hopefully with a lot more clarity now. So take a hard look at the challenges coming your way. What does your organization truly need right now? Does it need a hero, someone to restore balance and heal what's broken? Or does it need a creator, someone with the courage to shatter the old ways and build a future that no one has even imagined yet? That's the question, and the choice is yours.